Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Commander Scores studio. Welcome to the show. So, I thought today's episode could be a pretty fun topic, one that kind of has been bouncing around my mind for quite some time now. Just trying to dig in and really figure out, well, what is Commander and why do players gravitate toward it? What kind of a player gravitates toward it? What is the truth about Commander players? And kind of having to do some self-examination with this too just made it a bit interesting. And yeah, I want to share with you my incredibly expert findings that are definitely very scientific and not entirely my opinion. They are my opinion. And of course, your opinions might differ. And that's actually the great thing about Commander. We'll get into that here in a bit. But everyone has different opinions. And it's just kind of it's a great way to bring all those opinions together. I'm getting ahead of myself. Before I do that, though, a quick disclaimer. When I'm talking about Commander, I'm talking about your typical Commander, the way that the vast majority of Commander players out there play it, not CEDH, so not competitive Commander. That format, to be completely honest, makes a lot more sense, and we'll get to a couple points here in a bit. But yeah, there's just something very strange about Commander, just something very strange about this compared to basically any other game that you'll actually ever play. And we're going to start things off with the first point that I want to bring up, and that is that Commander players, myself included, are soft. We are soft and squishy, and we play Commander not just to win. We're not playing this game just to, prove how good we are at the game and just win all the time. That's not what we do, and that's kind of strange when it comes to playing games. Like, that's not typical. It's the format for those, out there, including myself, that don't want things to be too competitive. I mean, again, if you want to be more competitive, you're probably going to be playing, a different format. You'll play, standard, modern, legacy, vintage, CEDH. Again, if you really want to play the entire card pool of Commander, but want to play in a competitive fashion, you're going to be playing CEDH, competitive EDH, for those of you that don't know the term. You're not going to be playing just your casual, typical Commander because, yeah, there's just, again, a different kind of expectation, essentially, right? Rule 0 kind of, makes it so that, yeah, I mean, you're going to be taking others into consideration when you are playing, and when you're doing so, you might not do certain things. You might not be, again, overly competitive and trying to win every single game. So, basically, as I said, Commander is the format for those that don't want to be too competitive, but also some Commander players even have, negative terms for those that, maybe want to win a bit more. They're called potentially, tryhards, and so there's even a negative term for someone who actually wants to try to win maybe a bit more than other Commander players do. If you're playing the game of life and your little brother is trying to win, you're not going to call them a tryhard because they keep trying to win every single time, right? It's just it's a different experience. I mean, if someone at your LGS wins every single game they play, they aren't seen as a hero, right? I mean, if you have, any other game essentially where you see someone just keep winning again and again and again, I mean, they are seen in many eyes as a hero, right? You've got, in football, like Tom Brady won a lot of Super Bowls. I mean, I guess many see him as villain too, so that's probably a bad example. But yeah, I mean, in a lot of sports out there, in a lot of other games out there, in other formats of Magic, if someone wins a lot, cool, you're seen as, awesome. You're seen as great. Like, you're seen as, the top of your game. But if you're doing that in LGS, you're just kind of known as that guy to avoid, essentially. They don't kind of get, the entire purpose of Commander isn't just to win. So it's kind of this weird thing. So again, point number one, Commander players, myself included, we are a bit soft, I would say. Number two, unlike other formats, and this kind of goes along the same lines, Commander players don't want to win every single game. So basically, I mean, yeah, we're trying to make sure that others are having a good time, right? But also, you kind of self-sabotage at certain points, potentially even, to ensure that you're not winning every single game, which is very strange. It's very, very strange. I mean, what other game have you ever heard that does that? It's basically unheard of in any other game, right? If you win too many games in a row, of Monopoly, do you change your strategy? Do you say like, okay, this time I won't buy Broadway? Is that Broadway? No. whatever the one is, Boardwalk. There we go. Why did I say Broadway? Regardless, you don't change your strategy in those games and be like, hey, like I'm just going to intentionally tank this game so I don't win. But in Commander, I mean, I'm definitely guilty of this as well. Hey, I won too many games in a row, and I don't say this out loud, but like, I'm, for the next game, sure, I'll pull out my rarity deck, which has like a 0 win percentage essentially, but it's a fun deck, and I know that I'm going to have a good time, and the other players out there will have a better chance of winning, and I probably won't win that game. So yeah, there are definitely times where, again, it's a format where sometimes you actively work against yourself not to win, which is, again, just very odd, very strange, and something you would never see, especially in any other, competitive format of Magic. Just imagine someone just playing a standard tournament and being like, oh, I feel bad. I won game 1 against this opponent. They're not really having that good of a time. You know what? I'm going to sideboard incorrectly to just try to give them a better chance to win. It's something that you don't see because, again, Commander is kind of its own unique thing. So, my number 3 point. So if Commander isn't about winning, what is it about? And this one took a lot of, well, kind of self-examination because, again, everyone has a different philosophy for Commander, and that's kind of a very interesting thing. And my philosophy for Commander is, well, apparently, first off, socializing is huge for Commander, obviously, right? It's an amazing thing, and it's my favorite part of the format where, in what other, what other card game out there is there this much socialization? I mean, again, not only, when one-on-one games, you can definitely have it, right? You can be, you can chat back and forth, that kind of stuff. But in Commander, you're playing a multiplayer game where you can, chat with other players. You can, essentially, make deals with other players. You can, work together to take down, the big bad, essentially, in some games too. When someone becomes arch enemy. So that's an incredible thing, that you can have socialization. I mean, this always just reminds me of, and I think I brought this up on the channel before, but I used to play Standard a long time ago. And I was playing a game against another player who, and I'm not trying to be judgmental about this, but just trying to kind of tell, the kind of differences between, Standard and and Commander in some ways, where the other player, sat down at the table with, headphones on, listening to music the entire time, and would only pull the headphone off when they just wanted to ask a question as to what I was doing. And basically, there was no socialization there. There was absolutely no, conversation. There was no trying to get to know each other. There was just, I am playing this game. You are playing this game. Let's see who wins it. There's nothing wrong with that, but there was absolutely no socialization there, and that's something that I think Commander has a big leg up on against, other formats and other games, and just that socialization aspect. But when digging further into kind of what Commander, is for me and why, people play it, if they're not playing it to win, what are you playing it for? And perhaps it's mainly about, along with socializing, and this is just my perspective, but it's convincing others that you are interesting and clever. That is kind of the point of Commander to me, in a way, where if you really kind of dig at it, again, if your goal isn't to win every single game, what are you trying to do? What is your goal? What are you trying to do? And utilizing a Commander deck to kind of express to others what you're all about and express to others, hey, these are my cool ideas. This is what I came up with. You're really trying to convince the other 3 players at the table that, hey, I'm interesting. I'm clever. Look what I did. Look what I built. And if you don't win against that other players, it's fine, as long as you got to show off, what you want to do. It doesn't matter if you win, right? Again, many Commander players out there, I don't want to win every game. In fact, I'd rather win, again, 25% of the time, because, that's basically, every single player at the table is winning kind of an equal amount of games. Now, I'm not going to just intentionally tank games to ensure that exact percentage happens, but it matters if your deck did the thing. That's the main thing that matters. At the end of the game, did your deck do the thing that you wanted it to do? And if it did, cool. Even if you didn't win, you got to show off, why you're interesting and clever and smart, and that's the deck that you came up with, then this is the cool thing that it does. Again, many of my decks tend to be off the wall because I probably want a bit too much to convince others that I am interesting and clever. So yeah, that's just, again, kind of a self-realization when digging into, what makes Commander players tick, what is the thing about Commander players just that makes it so different. So yeah, that's kind of what I came up with. And obviously I'm 100% guilty of this, perhaps more guilty than any other Commander player out there because, well, I literally made a YouTube channel. Yes, it is obviously to help many others out there with budget Commander to ensure that players can play this game on any budget essentially, but I'm sure also part of it was and still is I want to convince people that I'm interesting and clever with the ideas that I come up with. The first episode that I had, right, was Nezahal. I mean, Nezahal is not your typical commander deck, or at least it wasn't at the time. And I was just like, here's Nezahal, Voltron. Cool, look at me, I'm clever. So, yeah, it's just kind of interesting to kind of, just retrospectively just look back and just think, hey, why is this? Why did I get into this format? Why do I enjoy this format? Why did I start this YouTube channel? That kind of stuff too. So just an interesting little exercise. All right, number 4. So you want to prove that you're interesting, smart, and clever, but you also are going to make intentionally suboptimal choices with a format like this. So you want to prove to everyone that you are smart, clever, interesting, all those things, but also you're going to be doing some incredibly not smart things, if that makes any sense. So let's just say this, okay? When I started playing Commander, again, another one of the first episodes that I made was on Selenia, Dark Angel. And that one is a very strange commander where you just, you can pay 2 life to bring it back to your hand. And you can do that as many times as you want, though. So it was a life swap deck where I was just trying to get my life total down to hopefully 1, essentially, and then get all other players down to 1 with me with a life swap, essentially. And yeah, that deck started off with 15 board wipes. 15 plus, I think, actually, because that is the smart amount for that deck. That is what that deck wants to do. I want to protect myself by just wiping the board again and again and again, slowing my opponents down to a standstill so that I can execute my plan, which doesn't require anything on the board. It just requires Selenia eventually to get out there, which I can then just bring back to my hand whenever I try to board wipe, and eventually, yeah, just swap life totals in a variety of ways. So yeah, again, the smart move is to build that deck with 15 board wipes. I quickly learned that, although that is the smart move, that is not a move that other players enjoy. That is not a type of deck that other players like playing against. So again, I adjusted that deck. I made suboptimal decisions for that deck. I took out a lot of board wipes to make that deck more friendly for others at the table. What other format, again, are you actually actively working against yourself, against your, interest of winning? You're working against yourself to make yourself play worse. You literally are doing something, again, suboptimal. And these things, I mean, that's for deck building, right? But also, even in game, you're going to be making intentional suboptimal decisions sometimes. And yeah, I'm sure that you can say, oh, I've never done that. Let's just talk about a quick scenario, and I'm sure this has happened a couple of times, but yeah. Have you ever cast a Decimate pretty early in the game? Destroying 4 things, right? Do you ever hyper-target one player with that? Even if, logically, that would be the right decision. Let's say that they probably have the most powerful deck, or they have the most threatening commander. And you target essentially all their things with that Decimator, right? Destroying, 4 things on turn 3 or whatnot, essentially. Yeah, is that going to be the play that you make, or are you going to maybe more so spread that out to be a little more fair to the table? Yeah, I don't see someone typically destroying both a Soul Ring as well as a land from the exact same player to just send them back to the Stone Age with that Decimate, or again, other examples of other cards. Suboptimal plays happen intentionally in Commander. Again, a format where you want to prove that you're interesting, clever, smart, all these things, but you're also making suboptimal plays because yeah, you don't want to be seen as that player that did the mean move of taking another player down. Again, a one-on-one game versus a competitive, or versus a social game like Commander. Obviously, there's some big differences, and that makes it really, really unique. I mean, certainly no other format in Magic really, or other trading card game out there really has this kind of thing where you're making intentionally suboptimal choices. I mean, I can basically guarantee you right now, I mean, Disney Lorcana, I think they've shown off like 8 cards or whatnot. They haven't talked about, the formats or whatnot it's going to be. It's not going to be out for quite a while, but I can pretty much guarantee that Disney Lorcana is going to be more cutthroat than Commander is, which is pretty crazy to think about when you have, again, Disney, nice, friendly, but it's going to be like, I'm going to beat you with Mickey. And, with Commander, it's like, well, I don't want to upset that player over there by decimating their entire board. I will spread things out and be more friendly. So yeah, it's just kind of interesting to think about. All right, number 5. Every single Commander player thinks their decks are a 7. Every single Commander player out there, and again, I'm not talking about CDH, I already talked about that at the beginning of the episode. Every single Commander player out there is like, yeah, basically all my decks are around a 7. Essentially is probably how the vast majority of Commander players feel, right? That's kind of the joke with Commander, right? Everyone sits down on a table, and they say, okay, what power level are we playing? Oh, okay, 7, yeah, about a 7, about a 7, about a 7, okay, yeah, we'll play 7. And then they're 4 completely different decks with 4 completely different power levels. There's really no such thing as a power level because it's impossible to actually gauge the power level of your deck against someone else who has a different standard for what the deck is, for what the power level of that deck is. Every group and every player has a different version of what Commander is and what should be and what should be different and what power is in those. I mean, if you sit down to play Euchre, it's just a game of Euchre. The rules are the exact same. The way that people play it is the exact same. Everyone's trying to win. And yeah, again, you're not, I guess with that, you're not really bringing your own deck to say this is a power level. But yeah, it's just kind of strange that, with Commander specifically, the joke is pretty apparent that, everything is not a 7, but we need our ways to actually, identify that, to be able to, say, hey, let's get on the same page. And again, it's impossible to place a deck on a power level. Everyone's got their own unique perspective on that. I like to say it's a social format, just talk, and that's really all you can do before a game. I mean, yeah, you can say, okay, power level, sure, but just kind of just talking about, what your decks want to do, how early they might win, that can very much help. And yeah, I mean, all you can really do essentially is, hey, maybe sit down, play that first game, see how it goes, and adjust from there. Those that played a deck that might have been a bit too powerful, can tune down. Those that, play a deck that might be a bit too, on the other side of things, a bit too weak, maybe tune up to another deck. So yeah, you can kind of meet in the middle somewhere. I mean, the first game typically isn't going to be perfect. And again, it's just, a social format. Just talk. Just be open and honest. Just talk. Okay? Number 6. And this is kind of a different point, but it's one I want to bring up as well with this. Commander is the worst possible format to be the most popular format with this current leadership at Wizards and Hasbro. That's just, in my opinion, a fact. It's kind of sad because, again, Commander, to me, is this amazing format. It's this absolutely incredible format where you can have all these different mentalities, all these different perspectives on how this game should be played, why they enjoy it. But also with that, you've got a company that can take advantage of that because, well, every single product can and is targeted at Commander players in one way or another, because every single card, basically every single card except for like 40 right in the history of Magic, are legal in Commander. So therefore, every time Wizards makes a product, they can in some way position it so that they are targeting Commander players. Every single secret lair out there that's ever been made has in some way been targeted at Commander players. Every single other product essentially has some ways that are targeted at Commander players. I mean, again, they made that change to Infinity to make certain cards, legal in the Commander format as well, and then just hyper made a bunch of legendary creatures as well to also target Commander players. Again, because of this, they can overprint things, they can make too many products, they can push cards too far, because Commander is a social format that can't be broken. Again, the broken part of Commander is CEDH. That is where the broken things happen. Turn 1 wins, etc., etc., etc. Cool, if those things get pushed, awesome, great. But, when it comes to actual Commander, you don't have most players out there in a typical Commander game trying to win on turn 1 or turn 2. So you aren't going to be able to, break the format in a way, and Wizards can kind of take advantage of that. Because it's a format that self-polices. Again, players are not only, policing within their group, but they're policing themselves. While deck building, again, I'm not building my Selenia 15 Wrath deck because a lot of players don't like playing against that. So you self-police. And because of that, yeah, Wizards and Hasbro can overprint products. They can make so many products. They can make push things as well, and they can just take advantage of that. I mean, if Commander didn't exist, and Standard was the most popular format out there, it would be impossible for them to make this many products. It would be impossible for them to push things so far for those formats as well because, yeah, I mean, you can only do so many products in a year for Standard. You can only have so many cards in the format to actually keep the format interesting. And Standard is a very breakable format. So, yeah, you can make it very not pleasant if you break things too often. And, yeah, you'd have to ban things left and right. So, it's very interesting. Again, the card pool in Commander and the percentage of cards that are banned compared to other formats, at least more recently, and how many cards are banned in those formats, it's just kind of strange. So yeah, it's an interesting fact, an interesting factor that we have to keep in mind that, yeah, Commander is incredibly popular. It's a great format, but you kind of got to be wary about some of the things that are happening with this company and with the way that they go about things because yeah, it's a beautiful thing but it can be taken advantage of. Number 7, the beauty of Commander is that it is so many things to so many people. And I've kind of brought this up a couple different ways, but basically, again, we have so many different approaches. Everyone has a different way that they enjoy this game. They have a different way that they enjoy this format. And we can bring all those things together, and you can have 4 people with 4 completely different perspectives on Commander have an incredibly enjoyable experience playing this game that they all love. Yeah, the rules are basically the same, but again, your approach to deck building, your play style, your, again, even self-policing within the game, and actually, ensuring that, you aren't being, you're keeping, rule 0 in your mind. You're not being, again, you're not decimating one player, down back to the Stone Age, essentially, to ensure that they're not going to have a good time or to actually take them out, even again, if it's the right move, logically, not emotionally, I guess. But yeah, again, no 2 Commander players are the same. And it's just something that makes Commander just great overall. It's something that just, it's again, a breath of fresh air, in my opinion, for this, community for Magic. And it's just something that gives a lot of players an outlet, again, for creativity. And again, to show others how creative they are, how clever they are, how smart they are, and just have a good time, again, socializing. There are plenty of things that are wrong with Commander, but at the end of the day, there are so many things that are right with it, and again, it's a format that I absolutely love. It's a format that many out there, many of you love, and yeah, it's just something that's very special that I really never thought I'd see. And again, I'm very, very happy that I got into it. Again, started off playing, standard other formats, and then and eventually switched over and didn't really look back. Yeah, seeing a full LGS full of people, interacting, talking, laughing, and chatting is a very beautiful thing. It's something that, again, other formats, have pieces of, but to me, Commander is, the standard, essentially, when it comes to that. It is just, hey, you want to, have a good time, you want to have a good night, just, playing with some friends, playing with other people that you've never met, sit down, play a game of Commander, and just, get to know what other people are about, just by, even just seeing, from the deck that they built, you can, learn about that player, learn, how they think, learn about, the way that they go about this game that might be different than your own. And kind of to end on that, and I don't know why I decided to put this point down, but I decided to point this down at number 8. I will never understand why people don't like mill decks. I mean, come on. Yeah, I don't know why I decided to end on that note instead of a positive one, but I'll just leave it there. So yeah, let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are. I'd love to hear from you. I hope you're having a great day. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.